Welcome back, everyone, to the channel. I just want to say I appreciate you guys being here for just a couple minutes of your day. I appreciate you guys. So we are back with another book review, which I'm pretty excited for. It is a Dean Koontz book, which I'm very, very excited to get into. If you guys already read the title, it is Mr. Murder. Now, I got this bad boy a couple years ago from my mom. She moved out of the state, and she's like, hey, do you want a bunch of books? I said, sure. I was slowly getting into some Dean Koontz. I only read like 2 of his books before, and I was a pretty big fan of him, so I decided, why not? And every once in a while, I'll pick up a Dean Koontz book and just read it because it's just palate cleansers and they're standalones, which is pretty nice. Especially right now since I'm reading a big, long series of Wheel of Time. So it's nice to change it up, you know? Spoilers ahead, I guess. But what I do in this is I talk about the good and the bad for every single book review I do. Usually I start out with whichever one has less, and then I just go right into the one that has more. Surprisingly, this one, we're going to go with the bad first. The bad, honestly, I didn't have much complaint. I gave this book a 5-star because I really liked this book. I thought it was really well written. Pacing of it was really quick. And it was one of those kind of books where you would see, like, it would do parts, and then he would have sub-chapters in each one of those parts. And then he would have, like, sub-chapters in those sub-chapters for different POVs. There was a part when I first started this book, it was just flying by with how fast. I was like, holy crap, I'm already 50 pages deep in this book without realizing it. And I really like that aspect. I think everything was just really well written. And what Dean Koontz does is a really good job with writing characters at the beginning to make them really feel like it's home. Like, these characters are a family. And you start out with the main character named Marty Stillwater, or Martin Stillwater. He is a mystery writer, and he is very, very well. And he's almost getting to the point where he's going to be a mainstream writer. Mr. Murder is based off of him from People magazine, calling him Mr. Murder because he's been writing really good mystery novels. While you're reading this all, you're actually seeing that he is just a regular dude that just likes to write. He has a wife named Paige, who is a child psychiatrist, which is also really cool. And you get his 2 daughters, Emily and Charlotte. What Dean Koontz does, he does this a lot in a lot of his books, that you meet the main cast of characters, I guess. The main characters, and you get through all their POVs, and nothing's going on, nothing weird. They're just living a good life. And this one, no, at the beginning, Marty, like right off the rip, Marty is doing a tape recorder of talking about something he's going to send to his editor. It just goes blank for like 7 minutes. And he doesn't actually realize that it's just been 7 minutes of him doing nothing. And he spaces out. And that's where things start getting really weird. And when I was reading it, it kind of gave me the vibes of like The Dark Half from Stephen King. And then I was doing some research. Apparently, Dean Koontz and Stephen King, a lot of their books during the 80s were kind of like close. It was just really weird how sometimes they would release books around the same time and they were like almost identical. And that's what I felt like what Mr. Murder was with like The Dark Half, which was interesting. I actually prefer this one over The Dark Half because I think The Dark Half is just weaker. We're not getting into that one. We're not reviewing The Dark Half. You switch to different POVs and you get to all Marty's stuff where you can tell this is just a loving family. They're doing all that stuff. And then you get to the other guy. That's what they call him a lot through it, but they also call him Elfie. But when you meet him, he starts off with being the other guy. And the other guy is just a trained assassin. But all of a sudden, he gets like the psychic ability of wanting and yearning for a home. Because he was created in a lab, essentially. He was created as like to be the perfect assassin. No feelings or anything like that. Just bloodshed. And what happens through this book is the first early on, he's doing a lot of things, but he's realizing that he actually has compassion, stuff that he wants a family. He gets a pull, and that's where Marty ends up spacing out because the two are connected. And you actually find out it's like a big government thing where the government actually stole samples from Marty to create this being. And that's why when people would see Alfie or the other guy, he looks a lot like Marty, and so on and so forth. I thought that was just such an interesting thing to see. And it made me like the book more because the whole time I'm like, holy crap, what's going to happen? And not even in the first 100 pages, the other guy meets Marty. And Marty ends up fighting the other guy. Marty somehow lives. He gets very lucky. He shoots the other guy, and just so many things happen. And the other guy still lives. And then you get into the parts where the cops don't actually believe Marty. Thinks Marty set it all up because he's trying to sell a book. So on and so forth. There's a lot of things that make sense to this book. But I really enjoyed this book. I think the characters themselves are all well written. It felt believable. Like, none of the characters felt like, oh, this probably would never happen. You know, it was probably one of those things, except for Alfie, because, well, he's programmed, essentially. But when I was reading this book, I felt it was just a really good, well-paced book. And I didn't have any complaints about it. I read this book pretty quick because just how he did the pacing. Dean Koontz does a pretty good job at writing every chapter, every subchapter, whatever it is. He does this thing where it's just like a cliffhanger. He's so good at writing these cliffhangers where you're like, oh my gosh, I have to keep reading. And that's what I really liked with Dean Koontz in general. And Mr. Murder does that to the top notch. And I really enjoyed that aspect while reading this book. Now, to me, I think the book is fine. I give it a 5 stars, like I said before. Is the book probably perfect in other people's eyes? Probably not. Or maybe it is. I have no idea. But this book, I really liked it. And I highly recommend everyone to go read a weird thriller, supernatural mystery novel, I guess. Dean Koontz is really, really good at writing thrillers. So if you guys want to read a thriller, you should definitely check out some Dean Koontz. I'm becoming a pretty advocate Dean Koontz reader because I like Dean Koontz a lot. And I just don't think his books get as recognized as they should because they're just that good. But with this book, I thought it was really fun to read. It was fast-paced. Everything I enjoyed with it. The characters were fun. The premise was just way deeper than I thought it would be. And that's what I really liked about it. It was dark and creepy. And you felt like a rush when you were reading this book. Like I said, it's a page turner. And that's what I really like with some of these books. If you guys made it to the end of the video, I do appreciate it. Make sure you guys check out all my socials down below. And let me know what is your favorite Dean Koontz book. Do you guys also like Mr. Murder, or is it just me? And last but not least, make sure you guys stay safe, stay hungry, and tell someone you love them. I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.